Hello, here's one for you. The only thing we have in life, no matter how poor we are or how rich we are, is time and energy. And the only thing that we're ultimately responsible for, so far as what we bemoan one way or another, is how we spend that time and energy. You know, I've been desperate to get down to the cabin yesterday. I was all packed up and ready to go to the cabin. I got a call for a nice older guy that I used to work for. He's a good guy. And he's just desperate. He's switched out his phone and internet. His internet didn't work. He couldn't get Netflix. And he's just like absolutely desperate. So I'm a nice guy. I was like, I spent many hours fixing all of his issues. And yeah, it was a multi-hour ordeal, and had to bring his MacBook home and completely refresh all that too. So I'm a good guy. I really wanted to. I have narrow windows when I'm able to get away, and so that opportunity is lost. Do I regret it? I mean, yeah, he did pay me. However, you know, money only goes so far. A lot of people worry about money, and I have to issue with bills and whatnot, and you know, I got enough money for like 2 good grocery runs out of the work I did for him. But ultimately, you know, you're not going to take it with you when you go. So just remember that if you're a young person, you only have 2 things: energy and time. Where you choose to spend it and how you choose to spend it is up to you, and that'll be either the source of your greatest joy or the source of your greatest regret. And I wanted to talk about natural order. Everybody wanted me to talk about natural order. Natural order is no different than saying justice. I'm not interested in word etymology. Talk about the Greek word for justice and whatnot. That bores the hell out of people. I could certainly do that. But there's instant justice and there's justice. As everything curves towards justice, given the flow of time. You know, human beings lead short lives. There's an ancient saying, I can't remember if it's Chinese or not. They said if you sit by the banks of the river long enough, you will see the body of your enemy float by. Not literally, but essentially, that's the truth. I don't have any enemies. I don't say that from personal experience, but everything must fall under justice and natural order. And a lot of people wanted me to discuss justice and natural order. And of course, truth, because what is truth and what is justice and what is natural order? Ultimately one and the same thing. I've said many times that wisdom is its own reward, but wisdom is just a silly word to refer to self-proximity. Self-proximity is, of course, its own reward, but wisdom is self-proximity, that with a capital S. So, regarding truth and natural order, this is a really important point that nobody out there teaches. I'm the only person I know that's ever said this. There could be somebody out there that said this, but I don't know of anybody that ever has, is that the truth can never have, and truth is justice, and it is natural order. The truth of nature and the truth of justice has to be universal, not only from one corner of the earth to the next, but from one side of the universe to the next. And to say that, you know, truth was not around such that anybody could be saved or see the nature of truth until so-and-so guru, or, you know, whatever your sort of religious thing you want to cleave to. And I'm not interested in religion. I'm only interested in metaphysics and universal truth. The Pali word for this is Dhamma, and the Sanskrit word is nearly the same, i.e. Dharma, meaning justice, which of course is no different than truth. It can't have a beginning in time. You can't say, well, before, you know, Guru Bada Bing came along, that there was no natural order, to speak of the truth of natural order, which of course is to justice. And it can't exist that way. This is fundamentally, you know, everything that falls after that has to be dismissed. There are many religious texts that have many words of wisdom within them. I'd like to quote one from the Bible, Matthew 19:23 here in a second. But that doesn't mean that I cleave to these things as, you know, do I suffer under the yoke or the burden of, you know, any sort of bestial ignorance that I think that truth didn't exist before then. Here's a fact that I can tell you that's true. Obviously, I'm out of shape. Don't get enough exercise, sit behind the computer. But that life is a whole lot smoother. I mean, like infinitely smoother, without walking around with this heavy sack of self-identity. And I don't mean self-importance. I'm talking about the removal of appearances of false self. Well, my name is, don't you know who I am? I'm, Bob so-and-so, and I'm famous, and, everybody knows me. Just this idea, it's a weight. There's a weight, obviously, I'm carrying around my, a weight of like cheesecake and hamburgers around my waist, but the heavier weight is to carry around something that is it's just a bubble in the sea of natural order, and we all know that bubbles are certainly ephemeral, but, now that I'm 50 years old, and of course, you can be old and foolish, and you could be young and wise. So this idea that older people are wiser is kind of like a mental delusion, truly a brain fart that a lot of humanity carries around, which they shouldn't. There's an ancient passage in the Dhammapada in the Pali where it says, old yet foolish and wasted years he is. In other words, he's old yet still a fool. But carrying around this false self, this appearance, this facade, or everything, the trappings that go with it, status symbols, ideas of importance, that you're driving a nicer car. Which would you rather have? The wisdom of the universe or a bunch of money in your pocket? You're not going to. One is that which you truly are, and you carry with you for all eternity, even after death, and the other one you can't take anywhere with you. Anyway, getting rid of this false self. And the false self is the subsidiary attribute of which is beliefs. And I'm getting to natural order here very, very quickly. The one thing I've repeated over and over again, that the reason for 99% of the strife and wars and misery of this world are beliefs. Brother have gone to war literally and figuratively with brother over beliefs, and of course many of these beliefs are not merely religious beliefs, but beliefs in things that people identify as themselves. And to get rid of that is one of the most blessed freedoms that anybody could experience. And this gets ultimately to the idea of being a Pythagorean. Say a Platonic truth seeker is not accurate. A lot of the stuff attributed to Plato is far more ancient than Plato. It's Pythagorean, and who knows before then, a Pythagorean truth seeker, where we actually drop ideas of that we are, I believe this and this and this and this. I'm a Democrat, which I'm not a Democrat. I don't care about politics. I'm a Democrat, it's talking about a theoretical person. I'm a Democrat, and I like white wine. I don't drink alcohol. I'm not talking about me, okay? I'm a Democrat. I like white wine. I like raw meat that's, served. Just all these things that we think are ourselves that are not ourselves. They cause so much strife in our lives. And this is against natural order. It's literally a bubble in the sea of reality. And I'm not interested in going with the flow, and I certainly don't believe in truth by consensus, because there's no such thing as truth by consensus. Nothing true is popular, and nothing popular is true. And as I've said extremely accurately, people talk about going with the flow, which I'm completely against, because turds and trash go with the flow. A wisdom seeker, which of course is a person interested in self-proximity, is someone who's called Udam Soto in ancient Pali, for example, which means an upstreamer. You're going against the stream. But these beliefs that wreck our lives and are against natural order and true justice, what they do is we are inflictors of our own injustice. If justice is natural order and truth, which it is, then this means that our belief systems that we think that which we truly are, which we are not that which we believe. But 99.99%, quite literally, nearly 100% of the world thinks they are their beliefs. This is who I am. You must cherish it and honor it. I think I'm a blue-feathered woodpecker bird. Like, what are you talking, I'm not going to get into that topic, but I could see you know, your brain working to see where I'm going here. But this has existed since time immemorial. There's just a new version of it today. It's like, well, I believe I'm this, this, and this, and how dare you confront my reality. You know, the whole world right now, Western world especially, is living in a nutshell and sniffing their own flatulence. And what they've done, and justice is going to be wreaked, not by some god, not by somebody with their finger on the nuclear button, although that might be very, very possible. It's going to be wreaked upon us by our own hands. Since justice is natural order, and justice and natural order is truth, that we prop up these belief systems, which are epiphenomena temporal bubbles that cause us all the greatest suffering. You know, we are you know, inflictors of our own greatest suffering and injustice. When you deny justice and you wage war against it, which is ultimately impossible. By waging war against justice, then what happens is that we reap our own injustice. And this is literally the reason for 99% of the world's strife and misery and suffering. Everybody, of course, ultimately has, and in the Pali, the word, the svadharma. Sva meaning own, or self, svadharma, our own justice. Some people believe in universal justice, and they're free to wait it out for it to correct itself, and it always does correct itself. It might not correct itself in your lifetime or even in your grandchildren's lifetime, but it will correct itself, just as the statement I had prior that if you sit by the riverbank long enough, you know, you'll see the body of your enemy float by. That's an ancient phrase. I can't remember if it was Arabic or Chinese that actually said that. So we have to ask ourselves what justice, i.e. truth, guides our lives. And we're talking about justice and truth. We're talking about natural order. This is universal justice. This is nature's justice. And nobody on this earth, no matter how much money they have one way or another, can violate it. You can for a little while, but it will always self-correct, kind of like building tension up in some spring steel. You know, you can wage war against justice and natural order and truth, all of which is one and the same thing. But the spring steel will let loose. Kind of like a catapult. You can wind it only so far, and then you've reached the limit, and justice, the temporal epiphenomena bubble, will release itself. So people think they're their beliefs, which they're not, their emotions. This is something also, too, that's never taught in school. I always admired her as a singer. She just died today. It was Sinead O'Connor, for example. You know, very beautiful music as a younger person, very physically attractive and whatnot. But, I mean, nobody that liked her or didn't like her suffered under the yoke of delusion that she was anything other than extremely, I hate to say this, I mean, I'm not speaking ill of the dead because I have a great admirer for her as a singer. You know, very emotional. Sometimes, some might argue, not me, you know, even though I could, irrational. People were not taught in high school or college, like, this is so important. Nobody is taught about beliefs and how important it is to reject them, because we must ultimately fall in line with truth and natural order, and it makes life so much easier. It doesn't mean you lose yourself, but this idea of self that people have, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I believe. No, that's what you believe. You know, what if you had a car accident and, you know, your brain was scrambled? Everything you believed in was lost. Like, you couldn't remember what you believed in. Would you say that you yourself were gone forever? Well, that false sense of who you thought you were, but I mean, not that which you truly are. Therefore, we have to reject these belief systems. But the important thing I was talking about, and I was only using her as an analogy, I'm not going after her at all, but people have gone after her, you know, my entire adult life, you know, saying these things about her because she would make all these emotional and hyperbolic statements. They were extremely emotional. A lot would argue possibly irrational, but I still appreciate her as a beautiful lady and a wonderful singer and whatnot, which is kind of undeniable. But these are people that we listen to their music and their art and their poetry and whatnot, but they're not to be, you know, listened to for, you know, countless things in life, because they're not using rationality and logic and what is true and undeniable. There's really two different classes of people. Technically, there's four different classes of people. And I don't mean social caste or classes. I mean spiritual castes or classes. Those are the actual caste systems in the Vedas, not social caste systems, but spiritual caste systems. People that are rational and logical and are interested in natural order, and other people that are slaves to their emotions. They make beautiful art and beautiful music and poetry and whatnot, and that's to be admired. But when they start talking, you know, about the stuff that these people always talk about, Hollywood's quite famous for this. Like, man, he's a great actor. I love watching his movies. But when this person opens up their lips on Instagram or whatever, you know, I got to roll my eyes. Like, they have the mentality of a child. It's like, you would never listen to them. It's kind of like children. They're to be seen but not heard. Emotional, irrational people are like children. You see them and you watch them. And I was like, isn't that cute? But you would never take their advice. I had to talk about that, actually, people that are emotional. So the question is, what sort of justice guides our life? And this is the ancient word, svadharma, or one's own justice. You know, what's the justice that leads your life? Are you ready for justice to straighten out over a long period of time? You might not see it in your lifetime. Or are you interested in instant justice? And that, of course, either way, that is one's svadharma. Also, to the emotions that I just got done talking about, whether one's logical and rational or they're emotional. Keeping up appearances, and of course everybody perpetually worried about money. There's worry about paying the bills and feeding your family, which is one type of worry about money. But this idea that you're going to hoard stuff up and, you know, take it with you when you pass away, and that you are your belief systems and you are your checking account balance, this is not natural order. This is propaganda and brainwashing that we're told to believe in. There are people that are infinitely happier, I know people like this, infinitely happier that, as the Kentucky saying goes, don't have a pot to piss in. It means they're poorer than dirt, but they know how the world works. They grow their own food. They can survive. You give them a Swiss Army knife and you send them in the wilderness, they can survive. And there are people that, and I know people like this too, filthy rich and they're miserable. Not that I'm, you know, it doesn't mean that if you have money it's a bad thing. It's that it corrupts people, unfortunately. Never covet somebody else's justice. Everything evens out. It sounds kind of hippie-ish to say that, but I mean, it absolutely is undeniable. Of course, we have greed and evil seeking of power, which is, of course, against justice. And there's two different types of people that want power, and it's a different type of belief system. One is persons that seek to raise themselves up above others at the expense of other people by robbing them or getting them to believe in propaganda and creating talismans for people to worship. Various governments of different varieties, which I won't mention, you know, put up talismans and they had the masses worship it, and what they were only interested in is raising up their short-term power. This is against justice, it's against truth, and it's against natural order, and it will always level these people. These people are not even in control of themselves, much less their demonic desires of power for other people. The other type of power is where you yourself are low, but the only way to feel that you can is very perverted. For you to rise yourself up is not to elevate yourself, but to dig holes out from under other people. There are different types of belief systems and types of people, and they don't know how to better themselves, which is a noble thing. You know, I'm going to increase my understanding of how to do things and fix things and build things and whatnot, and my skills. That's noble. The evil people, and these people are evil, is like, I'm going to reach their level, but since I'm not interested in developing up my own skills and intelligence, no one talks about this either except for me, is that they try to do that to reach the other person who's above them. You know, because they've worked hard and they have skills or natural abilities, right? You know, somebody with short arms and short legs is not going to become a professional bicyclist because you have to have long arms and long legs and genetics that are conducive to, you know, riding that bicycle like a, you know, streak of lightning. What they'll do is they'll dig holes out from under other people's. Like, I'll reach their level. And no one ever talks about this. People say, oh, you mean that you're going to develop their skills and you're going to reach the level of the people that they covet, and nobody should covet anybody else to begin with. It's like, no, what they do is they don't want to, they're not interested in raising themselves up. They're interested in digging holes out from the persons that they covet. I brought them down to my level. There's two different types of people, sympathetic and empathetic. Like a person in the bottom of a well. A normal, rational person is like, please send me down a ladder or a rope or something so I can get out of here. Sure. And there's the other person. They don't want out of the bottom of the well. What they want to do is drag you down. They'll actually say, hey, send the rope down. They'll send the rope down and they'll yank it really quick so you fall in the hole with them. And then you're in the hole with them. They don't want out of the hole. They want you to come down with them and be miserable with them. And you really, and this sort of mindset is absolutely pure evil. You have to watch out for people like that. You really do. And there's something else that's not taught at all. You really got to watch out for people like that in life. So, excellence excels. I forget which country it is. It's Holland, I believe. One guy's like a famous chef. Some people, like in Australia, call it tall poppy syndrome. This guy is a really famous chef. He works his butt off really hard to be a great chef. But all of the locals, I think it's Holland, either that or the Netherlands. Yeah, I forget which. But all the locals hate his guts, not because he's a bad person or he does anything wrong. They hate him because he works hard and wants to excel, and so he's elevated himself up against the average people. And there's this group psychosis, which is actually evil. And I got nothing against the Dutch or the folks of Holland, okay, nothing. But they hate that. These people have in general, have an evil, call it tall poppy syndrome. It means you can't stand somebody to work hard and to want to succeed. And they hate the guy because he wants to succeed, and he loves his job, and he works really hard. I find that just absolutely disgusting. There's a story like this in Africa. One guy, his son like worked really hard, and he made like 3 times as much money as his father did in a year. And instead of being happy for his son, the old man took a machete and he took off his son's, this is really gruesome, it's a true story, took off his son's, I hate to say the word because the algorithms are listening, took him off. It's like, why did you do that? They asked the guy, why did it was your son. He was succeeding. He just couldn't stand his son, and this is really evil. His son's succeeding, so, well, I'll take care of that. I'll fix that problem. And he did. Man, you really got to watch out for people like that. And there is a lot of people like that. A normal person will say, I want to do better. This is justice. Not justice what he did, but justice will always work its way out. These people will be brought low. Justice will find them. Not that justice is an entity and seeks out other people's evil deeds, but these epiphenomena bubbles that are by nature against natural order, against the truth, and against justice, they will be brought low by their own hand. And the same is true of beliefs. Most of the world suffers under a very heavy yoke of their own belief system. This is who I am. I think this, and I feel this, and I believe that. That is not who you are at all. That is part of consciousness, and it is epiphenomena. It's not that which you truly are. You can't take it with you at the point of death, where there's disunion between the signal and the radio. You are not that. This is the other thing, and I've talked about it endlessly, even though not recently. A genuine Pythagorean truth seeker that loves justice and natural order is very happy. This is something you really should have been taught in school or college, but you weren't. You're happy to be proven right, you're happy to be proven wrong. Because either one sets you on the right track. Like, I believed, I'm pretty sure this is how this worked in nature. And you debate it out. Debate doesn't mean argumentation, by the way. You're proven right, so I know I'm on the right track. Someone that loves, and when you have belief systems, this is why so many people hate being proven wrong. You know this is true. You prove somebody wrong, you got the facts, the evidence, the logic, boom! You've nailed it. They get angry. It's like, why are you angry? I presented the facts, the logic, and the evidence, and the citations, because they think they are their beliefs. They felt like they've been personally attacked. A true Pythagorean truth seeker loves being proven wrong, because then you would say, because you're not full of your own beliefs, bunch of poo inside your head of your own ideations of yourself. Okay, now I've been corrected with facts, logic, evidences, and wisdom. I was headed down the wrong path. Now I'm headed down the right. Thank you for proving me wrong. You presented facts, logic, evidences, and wisdom. I was on the wrong track. Now I'm headed on the right track. This is a wonderful feeling. Everybody should want to be proven wrong. If you're proven wrong, that means that you're now on the right track. Before you're on the wrong one. Why is none of this stuff taught in school or college? It is insanely important. It is incredibly important. It's as big as Mount Everest important. Who teaches this? No advanced school of learning, no Harvard, Princeton. None of these people teach this stuff. Even parents don't teach this. Excuse my little rant. It's just so incredibly important. Justice always comes. The only question is, how long will it take for justice to ripen? Here's the passage in the true meaning I wanted to read from Matthew 19, verse 23 to 26. And this is what Christians 99% of Christians get this wrong. It said, "Thus said Jesus unto his disciples, Verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for the rich man, whether it be riches of wealth or riches of beliefs, easier than if a rich man it's easier for a camel to go through eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God." By riches, it means that nothing passes the needle of death. It's not saying that a rich man couldn't obtain the absolute. It's that none of those things that make a rich man has any possibility of reaching that which is the absolute ultimate. I don't care if you think it's heaven or God. I don't care about belief systems at all. Your religion. When you say religion, you're talking about belief system. When you talk about belief system, you're talking about dogma and religion. I'm interested in natural order, universal justice, and truth, all of which are the exact same thing. Justice, natural order, universal truth. And people think that this passage says that a rich guy can't enter into heaven. No, what it says is the psychophysical person with bags of gold and wealth and all the other trappings and garbage that make up a rich person has absolutely no possibility. It doesn't mean that that person spiritually can't obtain the same. It means that does not pass the filter of the disembodied spiritus sanctum at the time of death. I'm 99% certain 99% of Christians misinterpret this. You're talking about belief systems and bodily trappings, and this, of course, is a matter of life. But, of course, what is the after is not a matter of the things that are important to life, which is health and wealth, and a few other things like that. That means it just doesn't pass. It doesn't mean a rich man can't make his way to the absolute or heaven or God or whatever you want to say. It doesn't make any difference what people think. But I gave 5 important premises in this on natural order and justice, i.e. Dhamma, or universal truth. I hope you liked it. If you ever want to contact me, my information is in the description below. Have a lovely week. Goodbye.